and then I'm going to make sure it is live on the page. So let me just refresh it. Okay, looks like we are live. Okay, awesome. All right, we are live on Facebook here with Keilynn Hopkins. Welcome everybody to the Sasquad Trail Running RunVenture Zoom Series. We are now on episode 4, I believe. This is the 4th week that we're doing this every other week on Wednesday evenings. Our first week we had Maggie Guterrell on the video, and she shared her whole running story of how she started as a runner out in Philly, and now she's out in Colorado. And if you're familiar with her, you know she's doing crazy awesome things in the trail and ultra world. The next episode, we had James Leitner on chatting about his incredible 900-mile run venture this month in July. He is running to raise funds for his nonprofit charity, Mission Clean Water, where he is raising $30,000 by running 30 miles a day for 30 days in the month of July. So he is doing that every day this month, and he officially hit the halfway point after today. So he is running a crazy amount of miles. You can actually, he's got a virtual event set up right now. You can find that on our social media page. You can join him virtually, or you're welcome to join him over at Tamaqua Park in Westfield. I've shared a couple miles with him. It's super, super laid back the way he does it. He runs for 5 minutes and then walks for 5 minutes until he completes the 30 miles. So I encourage you to get involved in some way if you haven't already. 2 weeks later, we had on Ryan Thorpe and Steve Lang, and they were chatting about their FKT records that they set on the New Jersey portion of the Appalachian Trail. So Ryan Thorpe set that record, and then Steve went on to break the record, but they actually helped each other achieve those FKTs, which is really, really awesome. Just another amazing part of our really sweet trail running community. And so now we're here with Keilynn Hopkins, and she's going to be sharing tonight about her epic story of running Rim2Rim2Rim at the Grand Canyon. So before we launch into her story, I'm going to share just a little bit of background about Sasquad trail running. If you're unfamiliar with who we are, we started hosting trail parties in 2018. That's what we love to call our trail running events. And obviously 2020 has changed our plans along with everybody else. So we are rolling with it, being creative and working hard to stay connected with you, our amazing community, doing events such as this, our RunVenture Zoom Series. We have that going on through the summer. We are also currently running our virtual race series called the Magically Mythical Virtual Race Series. And this event, as you can probably tell from the name, has a mythical creature theme because, you know, we're Sasquad trail running. And those distances range from a 5K all the way up to 100 miles. So you can register for that event on runsignup.com, and you can do as many events as you want. If you sign up for all of them, the 5K through the 100-mile, we've got this awesome handcrafted wood display rack that you can display all of your wood handcrafted swag. It's really sweet. And for the 100 miles, we have a handcrafted wood buckle, which is really awesome. So a little bit of recap on some things that have been going on. Today was the final day of our semi-virtual race, the Fat Sass Switchback Challenge, where we invited runners to go out to our race course at the South Mountain Reservation to complete the race on their own time, whatever day they wanted to the last 2 weeks. So if you did that race and you want your results to go on Ultra Sign Up, please make sure you email them to me at sasquadtrailrunning@gmail.com, and we're going to load those events over the weekend. And then yesterday we hosted day number 6 of the 10-day of 10Ks, which is a really, really awesome event that's going on right now. There's still a few days left in it. This is put on by this really awesome charity in our community called Men New Jersey. And what they do is raise funds, and then they provide fresh, healthy food and produce to local families who are in need. So that's an awesome organization. And you can catch up with them through the link on our social media that they still have a couple days left in their series of 10 days of 10Ks. So that's all that's happened in the last couple weeks. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to invite Kelsey Miller on the next RunVenture Zoom series. She's a local ultra runner, and she's going to share her story about overcoming depression through her couch to ultra journey. So you don't want to miss that. That is in 2 weeks. It'll be back here on Facebook Live. So without further ado, we have Keilynn Hopkins on the video tonight. And just real quick, I'm not going to share a ton because she's going to launch into it. But in September of 2019, she went out to the Grand Canyon and completed the epic Rim2Rim2Rim run at the Grand Canyon, which is about 50 miles long and has approximately 11,000 feet of elevation gain over those 50-ish miles. So when I heard her story, I saw her posting it on social media back in September. I think I reached out to you and was like, this is on my bucket list. I want to know everything. You can tell me about it. And she graciously shared her experience with me and the tips that she had along the way. So when we started planning this Zoom series, she was absolutely on the top of the list because I know I'm not the only one who has dreams of getting to the Grand Canyon, and I'm sure some of you want to tackle a Rim2Rim or maybe even the Rim2Rim2Rim. And Kaylynn's got some awesome firsthand advice. She did this trip on the cheap, which I also love. So she's going to share some really cool tips about making it affordable. And she did it in a crazy weekend. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking because she's going to share the story. So Keilynn, you have the screen. She's going to chat for about 20 to 30 minutes. And we've got some rapid fire questions at the end. And then after that, you can drop your comments and questions along the way on the Facebook Live feed, and I will read them to her at the end, and we'll do a little Q&A. So, Keilynn, all yours.
Hey, first, Kim, thank you so much for thinking of me. I know I'm always posting about my adventures online, and you're so cool. You're always like, oh, that's awesome. That's fun. So I'm really excited that I get to share one little piece of what I do. So thank you. And I just want to shout out your organization, Sasquad. I think it's amazing what you're doing. And really like what you're doing for New Jersey and the trail runners here. You just have such positive energy. So I just first want to start off with that.
Thank you, Keilynn. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. The other thing, I mean, we've all been on lockdown with COVID and everything else going on in this crazy world right now. 2020 is shut down. So I can't see who's on the other end of the screen, but I just want to say hi to everyone out in the virtual land. People that know me know I'm a super big hugger. Like if I could hug all my friends, like that's all I ever do. Even the people that aren't huggers, I still want to hug them. So I just want to send out like a virtual hug to everyone because I don't know, it's very lonely. I think we can all kind of agree that we're going through like this really weird time. And then I just wanted to do one more shout out to some local trail groups. My original group is UGF, Uptown Gentle Friends, out in Mercer County, New Jersey. Really cool people. We all think that our groups have like the best people. So obviously I'm going to shout them out first. In South Jersey, the Pineland Striders. They are so amazing. Right now, a few of them are actually out in Ball State kicking butt, doing over 300 miles across Tennessee. So it's really, really super cool. I mean, these people are just like good people. And then lastly, this group out in PA, the Run Holes, I can't even tell you how much I laugh with them. They're amazing, great people. And I just want to shout out one other person. I don't even think she's on, but Christine Stanvik, she just completed the very first female FKT on the Horseshoe Trail. I believe that was like over 140 miles. So I just want to reach out to my community. I think you can agree. When you find your people, you find your people. So those are my people. So just wanted to say hi to everyone.
That's awesome. And that's just a testament to the amazing trail running community we have, that, you know, everyone's got a tribe and we're connected. And I know all those groups you talked about, and it's awesome.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start off with a little bit about myself. So I would say actually I'm a hiker before anything else. I've been hiking forever. My family, I come from a military family. So when I came to the States, I was like a junior or senior in high school, and I did a lot of hiking. And then I started seeing people running through trails. And that's kind of what actually got me into trail running. People kind of stopped me because in general, I would hike and run because the sun goes down and you kind of want to get off the trail at that point. So that I come from a hiking background, but I also do trail running. And I would say at this point, I kind of do a hybrid of both trail running and hiking. Right now with everything shut down, I've really focused on mountain running, which has a lot of hiking in it. And there's hikers out there that are certainly much faster than a lot of trail runners, surprisingly. So that's kind of where I got started into all this. And with anything that you love, whether it's shopping, whether it's a different sport like swimming, eventually you do it enough that you want to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And for me, it just, I found my passion in running farther and farther and just kind of exploring different areas. So with that said, Grand Canyon, how did that come to happen? So I do a lot of trail races. I do a couple, I try to at least get about 3 races a year outside of my state. I love the West Coast. I love the East Coast, but it just so happens that back in January or February of 2019, I was at a trail race doing 100K. Actually got sick at that race and ended up dropping out. But coincidentally, I ran into, well, not literally ran into, but I came across some other people who, it was just horrible weather. Everything that could go wrong was going wrong. A lot of people were dropping out. We ended up carpooling up to the Grand Canyon. I actually had no idea about the Grand Canyon. I didn't know it existed. I don't know why. It just was not on my radar.
Get out of here.
I know it's bad. It's bad. I don't know. I guess it's because I always look for mountains, and that's the opposite. It's a huge canyon in the ground. So it just was never on my radar. But I'll never forget when I went there, it just kind of like took my breath away. I just like, not a lot of, when you do a lot of traveling, those moments become fewer and far between, and you just kind of look for more adventure. But I remember, I think I was there for like an hour, and there was snow on the ground, which to me blew my mind because I was like, Arizona has snow? What? Are you kidding me? I don't know. I just didn't know much about Arizona. So from that moment on, I was like, oh, wow, I need to come back here. So at that point, I came back, continued on with my busy life. We're all busy. And I kept Googling around about it. And I just thought it was pretty cool. It just so happens that there were some other people that were actually going out there, and that kind of piqued my interest even more. And that's how I ended up catching a flight out there. So I guess that's like how I kind of get started with all these ideas of where I want to go. I don't have specific areas in the US that I particularly want to go to, but like if I read a book and there's like this epic adventure that's happened in an area, or if just like I coincidentally happened to have gone to the Grand Canyon for an hour randomly, and it kind of took my breath away. Those are the things that really inspire me. I don't really have a map that I'm like, oh, I want to go here or I want to go there. Those are my connections to areas. The one thing that I do want to say, because most of my trips are done by myself solo. It's number one, it's very empowering. Number two, I think it's super important that you're self-sufficient, especially if you're going to be out on the trails for hours, days on end by yourself. A lot of times there is no cell reception, so self-sufficiency is a really huge thing. Just finding that why. For me, I don't have this big thing of, I want to do this or I want to do that because there's something missing in me. No, it's what's taking my breath away. What's a memory that I just kind of want to expand on or really like dig deeper in. So for me, it just so happens that I went there, I was there for an hour, took my breath away, and I was like, whoa. So that's my story. The other thing about my travels that is really huge for me, I really like, I say cheap, but it's not so much cheap. I like to save my money so that when I splurge, I can splurge on things I want. Running gear isn't cheap. Flights aren't cheap. Even if you can find them cheap, they're still, you know, that's money out of your pocket that you could be spending it like out on the trail or visiting a certain location that's kind of off the grid that you need to find a guide or something like that. So that's why like being frugal is super huge, because I want to make sure that my money goes to exactly where I want it to go to. Sometimes I'll play games like like the month before a trip, I'll actually try my best not to go to the cafeteria at work and spend my money. I will make a sandwich or whatever it is and pocket that money, and that becomes my spending money for the trips. So I'm trying to like throw these little hacks out there that I do so that I can kind of maximize my trip in general. So that's what I ended up actually doing for this trip. So what I did do specifically for this trip. So I, like many of us, well, pre-COVID, work a lot of hours. I work 40 to 50 hours a week. I'm also in school. So timing is really important to me. And that's why I try to slam these trips into weekends. So a lot of times I'll take red-eye flights. And that's what I did for this trip. And red-eyes, depending on when you purchase your ticket, it can be cheaper. I don't know, flights and the flight industry always changes, and who knows what it's gonna be post-COVID or post everything that's going on in 2020. However, the important thing that I wanna point out is that in order to maximize my time, I literally will make sure that I have an Uber from my job to the airport and fly out and take a red eye. The other great thing about that is that you can sleep. So it's not, I can kind of sleep anywhere. So that's really, that goes to my benefit. And that right there maximizes more time when I land on the ground. Just get a rental from wherever I'm at. Depending on where I'm staying, I will get a bigger vehicle, a comfy one, to crash, depending on where I'm at. If it's a really barren area, car camping, no shame in that, you know, plus you save on hotels, so, or Airbnbs, whatever it is that you do. So with that said, I think those are like the two main things that, well, in general, that's what I do for my trips. That's how I save money. I think now I should probably go into like the big picture here, talking about the Grand Canyon and the trail.
Let's do it.
Okay, excellent. All right. Okay, so can you see it?
Perfect, you got it. Nailed it.
Great. Okay, so Grand Canyon, Rim2Rim2Rim. It's pretty popular now for individuals to go from, what Rim2Rim2Rim is going from one side of the Grand Canyon, traversing all the way kind of like going through a bowl, down the canyon, all the way across the Colorado River, and then up to the other side of the canyon. And then you can either traverse all the way back down and go back up where you started, or you can, the other popular route is to go, it's kind of like a Y shape. So I went north Kaibab, that's where I started. I went to South Kaibab, and then I ended at Bright Angel. And it was really cool. One of the things that I wish I had done ahead of time was actually to do a little bit more research on the geology, I guess that's the right word, of the area, because I found myself, I mean, I'm surprised I didn't break my neck. I kept looking everywhere and just like, I was fascinated with everything that I was seeing. I mean, it's just, you're a peon. It's one of those areas, like a lot of times you think, oh, I'm at the top of a mountain and wow, I'm so tiny, I'm so up there, but you get the exact same feeling at the Grand Canyon. So I do wish that I had done that ahead of time. So I'm gonna go into some of the logistics first. So again, I said take red-eye flights. The important thing here, the reason why I do that, and this is just what's important to me, I don't have a lot of time, so red-eye flights are key to me. So I take a red-eye typically to where I'm going, and I'll take a red-eye back to work, which is definitely risky. I will not kid you. Depending on the airports, there are showers, so that's something that you can always do. If, again, I'm all about maximizing time, so you can always look up and see which airports have bathrooms. Just Google. I mean, I'm the type of person, I ask a million questions, but then on top of that, I also do the legwork. Like, don't just go and ask people around, because everyone's experience is different. I just find that finding the right information, plus things change all the time, and clearly everything's going to change at this point with everything that's going on. Transportation, and again, this isn't just specific to Grand Canyon. I'm trying to narrow it down to that, so I apologize. Transportation, rental car straight from the airport. There's lots of options. You can go through Travelocity. There's other ones where you can like put bids in. If you happen to know people where you're going, I mean, make friends all the time, especially trail runners. We tend to do that. And hikers also. Build your network, because you'll find, what I have found with my travels is that there's actually quite a few faces that you end up starting to see in your travels. So if you know someone that lives in an area, you can certainly have them drive you, do you a favor, and you can certainly return that favor, especially if you live in like a really cool place. So one of the other things that I found, this information I found very difficult to find when I was doing my research. I wasn't sure where to park to actually start the actual Rim2Rim2Rim. So I knew that I wanted to start at North Kaibab, but I found it difficult to find the information. Where am I going to park? So it just so happens that if you park at Bright Angel, it's free. Free is a good thing. Free is great, and safe. It's very safe. So that's super important. From Bright Angel, you bring cash, because you're going to need to take a cab from there to North Kaibab. I think it was like a 15 to 20 minute ride, and it came to $12 plus whatever you want to tip the person. The other thing that I do want to say is, I remember specifically the taxi cab. I was like, oh, well, the night before I'll go ahead and call the cab service so that it can be ready. There's only really one cab service, or there was at least last year. it's just they kind of have a monopoly on I guess the transportation in that area. And any which way, my point is that they're going to ask you to call 15 to 20 minutes ahead of time. So make sure that you have all of your stuff ready. Basically, your book bag ready to go. Okay. And the cab service, the phone number is pretty widely published. One good resource specific to the Grand Canyon, there are 3 Facebook groups for the Grand Canyon. One is for hiking, one is for trail running, and one is just a general Grand Canyon one. And a lot of times people will like put their questions in there, and you can just go into the search function and look up anything, but specific to the taxi, just look up taxi and they'll give you the information. There is a shuttle available, but if you're going to be doing the entire traverse, it's really important to think about timing. If you're going to be leaving super early in the morning, the shuttles aren't available at that time. So that's why you want to go with the cab service. And I think for people who are doing the rim-to-rim-to-rim crossing, they tend to do the taxi. The shuttles are free. But to me, $12, this is where the saving the money before the trip comes in handy. There you go. There's the $12. I'm going to go when I want to go. So
your
there's a lot.
Cafeteria money is saved, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So lodging. First, I want to say I was shocked. I mean, I guess I'm just like a true northerner. I think of like LA, I think of New York City, and big metropolises as expensive places. But holy cow, Grand Canyon Village and the town just before it, mind blowing. It's like you're at a resort, and I'm like, what? So super important. Let me backtrack a little about that. If you're when you're buying anything, buy it in the towns nearest to like where the airport is, because the closer you get to the Grand Canyon, the more expensive everything is when it comes to food, when it comes to supplies. I mean, the good thing is, I can't remember the specific name of the village, but just before the village, there's this town that has a really great outdoor supply store, but everything is super expensive. And, you know, we tend to forget things, even if it's a headlamp. I mean, it's expensive. So I just want to put that out there. If you're specifically planning this trip, please, I urge you, buy everything ahead of time. So, back to lodging. There's Airbnbs, there's hotels, and you can actually stay in the Grand Canyon. They have lots of cabins, and they're very well priced, but you have to book it like 6 months to a year in advance. Because in general, I do my trips spur of the moment. I tend to look more towards hotels and Airbnbs. If I'm going somewhere where I really don't know the area, I'll actually go to a hotel, because with hotels, you know the ratings. Airbnbs or anything else, VRBO, you just can't always tell like how thin those walls are, and you know, there's a little bit more risk involved. I just want to, like, if I have a big trip, I want to put my head down and not worry about anything. Plus, hotels have pools, you're guaranteed Wi-Fi, especially if you're, for the most part, especially if you're going on these trips to like really remote areas, having Wi-Fi is priceless. The other thing here's another one of my hacks that I always do, finding a hotel that has continental breakfast.
That's super important.
Free food. So again, ways to save money. So, and that's not because I'm hoarding or anything. It's just the reality is Continental breakfast typically is available from 5 to 6 a.m. on. So it's really nice to be able to eat, to have nice hot coffee, not make coffee in your room. And it gives you kind of like that mental space to, okay, I've got everything together. Let me go ahead and eat before my adventure. So it just so happens that this hotel, and I apologize that I don't have the name for it, they actually had a huge bin in the front with apples, free apples, apple here, apple there, red and green. So I stocked up on apples because I wasn't sure, you know, you can never have too much food, especially when you're going out on these long trips. So I think that's pretty much the gist of logistics from getting there. And getting back, same thing. Now, I will say that when you finish your, if you end up finishing at Bright Angel, you'll still, depending on where you parked, you'll still take the shuttle. Shuttles are pretty cool. They're every, I want to say every 10 minutes, but don't quote me on that. It's every 10 to 30 minutes. So you're not waiting around for hours on end, which is really convenient, especially when you're exhausted, or if it's before your trip, it's just really convenient to have that frequency going on. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so packing list. I hate putting my luggage under the cabin when I fly. It's never happened to me, but I have a really big fear of my bags being left, you know, under the cabin. And actually, before one of my races out in, I think it was Georgia, I don't know, it was somewhere down south, my running pack was connected. I had it like securely connected to my suitcase, and it must have like dislodged or fallen apart from it. So guess who went through it by herself? I was so incredibly lucky. I happened to have had crew for that race, and that morning I actually started the race, and I had borrowed one, Lenore, actually, I know that you know her. She allowed me to, or she gave me her running vest, but if anybody uses book bags or running vests, you know that they're a pretty specific fit, and depending on the length of your race, there's a certain capacity that you need. So I happened to have started that race. Meanwhile, my crew went out into the town looking for a running pack. Like, they knew what I wear, and they were able to find it, and they met me at like the next aid station, and I was just like, whew. So long story short, I never ever like to put stuff underneath the cabin, especially, again, I just take one weekend at a time for these trips, so I need to be efficient, and I can't take that kind of risk. So that's a little too risky for me. So with that said, I always have a large book bag that can fit in the overhead. I carry my hydration vest, my running vest. Typically, I'll just actually attach it to the outside of my bag. And when you're flying, you can always just stick that under your seat, because everyone always gets that +1 little area. So that's super convenient. So, but what that also means is that you have to stick to the basics. Oh gosh, I just looked at the time, so I'm so sorry. I'm like taking so long.
You're good. You're doing great.
Okay, so so layers are number one. I have it all listed there. I do not like being cold, so I tend to not take trips in the winter time. So summertime, regardless, you know, you're going to have to layer up. So everything, I have everything pretty much listed there. You can always, worst case scenario, take off layers or wash it in the river. The Colorado River is spectacular. I have to tell you that. It's super clean, super green. You'll see in the pictures. hiking or running additional things. So when I take these trips, the other important thing to me is to be able to, I don't duplicate my trips. So like I've gone to some pretty cool places. I'm kind of like a one and done person because there's just such a huge world out there. With that said, so depending on what I'm doing, I base that off of what I'm bringing. So for Grand Canyon, gators are super important. The terrain itself is very easy. It's just like, I feel like it was like running on cross-country terrain, but there's a lot of sand. So you need to wear gaiters. Some people say wear sand gaiters. Doesn't really matter. I don't personally buy gear that isn't multifunctional. So, but gaiters are super huge. They'll save your life. I chose to bring additional stuff just in case I needed to spend the night. So I did end up sleeping about 4 hours, which was really hard. Again, there were other people from New Jersey that went, and we were able to kind of share gear. We met up at different points in the actual trail itself. So everybody was kind of like doing their own thing, but it's also kind of nice from a safety perspective to just know that somebody else is out there and you're going to run into them at some point. The other thing that you need to get is a camping permit. This is really important because I think so I spent $34. I think it depends on where you stay. The important thing is that it varies in price, but the $35 is totally worth it in case you do need to kind of crash and get that extra sleep, which happened to be the case. You can actually, they open up the slots monthly. So at just a few days before the beginning of the lot, you can look on the Grand Canyon site and see what slots are available and snatch it up. So there isn't a lot of time that you have to waste on that. Nutrition. This is probably the simplest way of knowing how much you need to carry whatever distance you're doing. Fluid, I always have a bladder, and I always have a container that, actually have it over here on the side, a Katahdin, a filter bottle so that you can filter your water, and find out anywhere that you go, specifically in the Grand Canyon. There's quite a few areas where you can refill water. However, they're not always working. So make sure that you check ahead of time. If you go on one of the Facebook groups, they'll actually tell you, hey, FYI, this place isn't working. So it helps you kind of figure out where you're going to refill your water. So that's super important. Food. Okay, so this varies from person to person. This was one of the things that I kind of fell behind on. 200 calories per hour is what I had planned on. So 50 miles, so 200 times 50 miles, whatever that total is, that's the amount of calories that you need to ensure that you bring. Phantom Ranch is really awesome. It's right after the Colorado River. It's right in the middle. You can always buy more food there. And that's what I ended up doing. So FYI, 200. If I were to do it again, because I went in September and the heat was in the 90s, I would have probably bumped it up to 250 or even 300 calories per hour. I was not running the entire thing. I was running and hiking it. So you kind of have to figure that out, but that's just a kind of a simple calculation so that you know how much calories to take, even if you're doing a short 20-mile trail run. So, and then extra batteries, battery chargers, batteries for your headlamp, 2 headlamps, cell phone doubles as a camera for your pictures, sunblock. The Grand Canyon has no cover, so you will burn. I'm tan, I burned. So, and sunglasses, because it's hard on your eyes also. GPS device, I happen to use All Trails. I paid for the yearly membership, $20, and I know exactly where I'm at. Cash for Phantom Ranch. So I think I'm getting into the pictures now. Oh, this was the route. So I started at the very top. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but at the very top, this is North Kaibab. You go all the way down the Colorado rivers in the middle, and then you actually veer off towards the right-hand corner of the map. That takes you to South Kaibab, go back down to the Colorado River, cross a bridge, and then you end up at Bright Angel. That's the whole trip in and of itself. Pictures. Okay, this is the fun part. So I don't know what kind of animal this is, but they were everywhere in the parking lots. And they were
not Sasquatch, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's not Sasquatch. It was mating season and they were aggressive. I can tell you that much. This is from the parking lot, what you start to look at. So from far away, it looks like a huge, just flat area. But once you get closer, you see like all the ridges and it's really impressive.
It's incredible.
Yeah. The sun had already started to come up. Again, this is just like right off side of the trail. You can see the ridge line. On the left, this is exactly what the trail is. Dirt, sand, red, compacted, and lots of stairs, but they're long. So it's not like you can train for this on regular stairs. There is no way to train for this unless you live in the area, in my opinion, other than lots of hill repeats, long hill repeats preferably. So if you'll notice, this picture is tilted to the side. There is a very specific reason why. I never thought that I don't have a fear of animals, not bears, not coyotes. I've been exposed to all that. These are mules. These mules go up and down all day long to Phantom Ranch. The problem is these are not normal mules. I think of mules as kind of short and stocky. These are not short. These are like horses, ginormous horses, and they're super muscular. And I would say that this trail is about maybe 4 to 5 feet. So off to the left is the actual wall. I attached my body completely to the wall. And first I was on my back, I flipped around, put my face towards the wall. And I was like, God, I hope that they cannot feel my heart pumping out my chest because I feel like animals can sense that. I was like, they're gonna kick me. That was my biggest fear. That was actually my only fear on this trail. But you know, those are the fun things that you encounter when you travel. It was super scary though. All right, so as you're coming down North Kaibab, you see the Colorado River. I hope that you can see, I really couldn't appreciate it until I saw it. The green, that's a natural, that's exactly, there's no filter on this. This is the exact color green and it's beautiful and it's cold and it's super clean. The closer you get, you can see all the rock formations underneath and it's just like amazing. Actually, to the left-hand side of that bridge, that's the bridge that you cross from North Kaibab, when you're coming down North Kaibab to cross over. Just a little off screen to the left, there's actually a little beach and there were totally people there. A lot of people actually do a kayak across the Colorado River. So that's something that you can also do if you're ever interested in that. Phantom Ranch, the infamous Phantom Ranch. This is like real deal Western stuff. I felt like I was like in those black and white movie or TV shows where there's like horses and there's like legit cowboys. Two super important things. This is where you can resupply on food, but also you have to have the lemonade. You have to. It is the best lemonade in the world. This is a very arid environment and this lemonade it brings life back to you. So I just wanted to point that out.
Magic lemonade.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so in between the last picture and this picture was the overnight section. I got to South Kaibab in the dark. I was lucky that I found one of the other Jersey runners and we kind of did the whole area together. It's super beautiful. It's not scary at all. You couldn't find a more safer place to be in the Grand Canyon. Everything is super easily marked. So there's no real pictures of that or the campsite, but I crashed actually on a bench and it was like so perfect. I sleep like a rock, so it was awesome. This is another view of the Colorado River as I'm now crossing from South Kaibab up to Bright Angel. I cannot express how difficult it is to climb Bright Angel. The entire thing is a climb. I can't remember the amount of miles. I want to say 10 to 15. It's all uphill, but this part in the picture, I don't know if you can see the cursor at the very bottom, that's part of the trail. The very last 2 miles, so it's like 1,000 feet of gain per mile.
Wow.
In sand, completely exposed.
Oh my goodness. And this is at the end, right?
This is the end. This is where this is it, unless you decide to go back to North Kaibab, North Kaibab, and still you're going to be ascending, because again, you're basically doing a bowl. You're going down the bowl, across, and all the way back. This was probably one of the hardest things, and I've climbed some pretty legit mountains. The problem is there's no cover, and it's sandy, and it's pretty steep. So it was tough. I'd recommend hiking poles, actually. And the coolest thing, a canyon goat. There's canyon goats in the
wow.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. There were a million really cool things about this trip. So much wildlife. It's definitely a once in a lifetime experience. I mean, hey, look, if you want to do it multiple times, go for it. If you want to do it like I did, I ran most of it, hiked a good portion of it also. If you want to hike the whole thing, I did. So total time on this was about 17 hours minus the 3 to 4 hours of sleep. So it's totally doable. In the running world, I consider myself a mid-packer, so that's the time frame for someone like me. So that's what I've got. I highly recommend it. It's totally worth all the hype, for sure. So I'm gonna take off the share now. Hey.
Hey, that was awesome. That was awesome. And you wanted me to remind you to ask what worked and what didn't. So I'm reminding you of that.
Yes, thank you so much. So what worked? Having GPS, because when you get tired and you want to know how long, or even if you start to run low on water, knowing where the next water stop is critical, so that you can kind of gauge how much you can push or not push. So kind of the obviously planning, but really having GPS, that was like a savior. What didn't work? Calories. That 200 calories per hour, no way. I should have bumped it up to 300. Being safe, 350. Phantom Ranch really saved me, but even at the end at Bright Angel, I had met up with the other Jersey runners, and they just happened to have shared, I think, like some gels or something. So I was super grateful for that. I tanked on that. So, this is something you have to figure out on your own. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's what worked and what didn't.
That is awesome. All right, I am going to, I wrote down some questions of my own, so I'm going to cut the line for everybody else who has questions, because I'm gonna jump in here. I was curious when I was listening to you talk. So you brought a lot with you. So I was curious, what size pack did you have? Is it larger than your normal running pack? Because it sounded like you had extra gear for camping and stuff. So was it like a fast pack that you used, or do you know the liter size?
It was 30 liters.
30 liters. Okay.
Yeah. Since that trip, I've done quite a few. I've done about 4 or 5 other trips, and I'm now experimenting with fast packing. I don't think that's something that you can just jump into. It's something that you kind of have to learn what type of runner or hiker you are, and what your needs are, and what kind of luxuries you want and what you're willing to cut out. So that's kind of where I'm experimenting. I actually just got Ultimate Direction the other day, and it's like really highly rated. So we'll see. I'll let you know how that works out.
Yeah. So it was 30 liters. And then if you had a guess, how heavy do you think it was when, obviously it got lighter as your trip went on, but you started?
The really cool thing about the Grand Canyon is since the entire first section is downhill, the weight didn't bother me at all. I think there was about 25 pounds.
Okay. Yeah, that's a joke.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So ideally, when you're hiking, you never want to go over 30. And also when you're training for any of these trips, train with the weight. I mean, if anybody follows me on Strava, nobody, but if you do, you'll see a lot of like walking with like a weighted vest just to kind of simulate that weight. Then you get a realistic idea of how long things are going to take you.
Right. Okay. Just for people who are listening who might not know what fast packing is, do you want to say
Sure.
real quick?
Yeah, so I think I actually use two terms interchangeably, fast packing and light backpacking. So fast packing is basically trail running, longer distances. A lot of times it can take you into the next day, 2 or 3 days. You can even, I mean, if you're elite, you could trail run 5 days. I mean, there's people out there doing it. And then the difference is also you typically don't sleep. Like camp with a tent, or you usually just use a bivvy, which is kind of like a sleeping bag that you can sleep with.
Awesome. And then I had one other question about your description of the start to finish. It sounds like most of the elevation you're gaining is when you're ascending back out of the canyon. What is it like when you're down at the bottom? Is it relatively flat, or is it rolling, or?
It's pretty flat. That's the fun part, is you can actually feel like you're running, which is cool. Yeah. Oh, you can't feel, you are running. I totally, the pack's a little lighter. You can certainly run. Grand Canyon's really cool. So what I did was a lot of running and a lot of stopping, because I would just be blown away by like these plants that I'd never been exposed to. You don't see this stuff in a lot of areas. So yeah, totally flat.
Awesome. All right, we're going to do an abbreviated rapid fire question. So you just want to answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't put a lot of thought into it. These are goofy and fun. So we ask every guest, the first and most important question is, do you believe in Sasquatch, and have you ever seen him?
Of course I believe in Sasquatch.
Obviously.
Hey, look, when I'm out on the trails, especially at night, I talk to animals all the time. People that know me know I'll howl at the moon. I will say, hey, bear, I'm in your living room. I'm a totally good person. So yeah, if I haven't personally seen Sasquatch, but if I did, I'd give him a high five and keep on my way and kind of let him do his thing.
That's awesome. Okay, next question. I will edit it a little bit because you said those what are they called? The mules, they scared you the most. But besides them, outside of the Grand Canyon, what animal on the trail creeps you out the most if you were to see them?
In the Grand Canyon or in general?
In general.
I think, and this is actually prohibited, like I don't have the guts yet to do like really long secluded trail runs out west, because I'm just not familiar with the animals. Like I think if I saw like a cougar, I just don't, if I know what to do, it's fine. But I mean, now I'm used to bears. I've seen so many black bears over here on the East Coast. I don't even get scared. I just kind of sing and clap and make myself look big. So cougars.
Awesome. All right, cougars. Next question. If you had to sing karaoke right now, what song would you choose?
Oh God. I don't know. I'm like a really huge folk fan.
Awesome.
I don't know. Nothing's coming to my head, but it would totally be a folk song. I don't know. I'd have to look at my playlist. I'm terrible. I'm sorry. I don't have
no problem. We're putting you on the spot. We're putting you on the spot.
And I would like pretend that like I was in some crazy like the Midwest or something. I don't know. I know that's very like I'm pretending they're very folksy, but who knows?
Awesome. All right. Let's see. Next question is all-time favorite movie. Go.
Oh my God. I'm aging myself, but the Goonies.
Goonies. So good.
Yes. absolutely.
You can't go wrong with the Goonies.
No.
You can't. Okay, and next question. Do you have a bucket list? And if you do, is there an item that you're eyeing up right now that you want to?
Yeah, I am. I'm eyeing up something right now. I'm kind of keeping it up under wraps.
Okay,
But,
all right, you have to share.
Yeah, but I can tell you that I read a book probably like earlier this year, and it just completely inspired me, and I'm just like, I can't wait to do it, and hopefully I'll be successful. And I mean, it's nothing super huge, but it's close to my heart. Those are my whys, so it's got a why to it.
Awesome. All right, and let's see, last question in the rapid fire. If your family could choose one word to describe your running habits, what word would they choose?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh God. I already know my husband would say I'm dirty.
Dirty!
I always have dirt on me. Always. Like,
Okay.
I'm always running, so I always have dirt. If you look at my Jeep, I have like it's basically the outdoors in my Jeep. So yeah, dirty, but I mean in the sense of dirt itself.
Okay. Not you physically as a person.
No, not at all.
Awesome. All right, you survived the rapid fire questions. I'm gonna hop into the Facebook Live chat and see if we've got any questions for you. So give me 1 second here.
Sure.
I'm just gonna pull it up on my phone. Whoa, 78 comments. So
hi everybody.
What's going on in here? Oh, there's some Goonie quotes in here. Bullet holes the size of matzo balls. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see. I kind of I stole this question from Ryan. Ryan Thorpe asked, "What's next? What's your next big adventure? Any bucket list trails?" Which I guess you already spoke to that.
I can tell you that it'll be next month, and I'm super stoked. I'll totally post about it and give you an update. And it's so near and dear. I can't wait.
Okay, no problem. We'll move on. Next question.
Sure.
This is from Bailey Lewis of Short Hills. She says, "What is your favorite post-run food?"
Oh God. In general, I eat very healthy, but give me a Whopper. Not a Whopper Junior, a Whopper with cheese. And I will inhale it in like 5 seconds flat.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
That's amazing.
All the time. Like I'll literally look for Burger Kings.
That is awesome. Do you get it with fries as well, or you just go straight
No,
Whopper?
I don't even like, I inhale it. I don't remember. And by the time I get home, I'm like ready to have dinner or lunch or whatever time it is.
It's amazing.
I love food.
Okay, Diana says, what was your total time for the trip? And I think you said only 4 hours were sleeping.
Yeah, so excluding the sleeping hours, about 17 hours. I'm a mid-packer, and that was with running and hiking. So that's how I did it. I don't know. I was just like looking all over the place. It was gorgeous.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, we've got another question here. Why did you choose the Prezi Traverse for your birthday? I love the cupcake photo.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. It's just this, again, it's a weird year. So I'm just kind of like doing a lot of exploring. And again, I am also trying to improve on my mountain running. So that kind of like ticked off 2 things. I really wanted to do it by myself. I wanted to see how much moxie I had. It was very challenging because of the fog. There wasn't, not only because of the fog, but also because a lot of the trail signs aren't necessarily facing exactly where they need to face. And also one last thing, I don't know if it was just because I was tired. I definitely felt like the mile markers were off, but it was probably because I was tired. But yeah, I just wanted to do something fun and just prove to myself that I've got some gumption still, and that was it.
That's awesome.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
And that was a random stranger. I was like, I'm sorry, I know I'm a dork. Can you please take a picture? And
You have to do that. No, you have to do that. Let's see. Okay, Sean Kane asks 2 questions. What about pre-run food, and then headphones or nature?
For safety reasons, I don't do nature. I mean, I don't do headphones. Not even just because of animals. I think humans are more dangerous than animals.
Right.
And I don't mean like somebody trying to attack you. I mean, like if you're running along the trail right next to me and you startle me, like I don't like that. And pre-race food, I'm all about the carbs. I do know, like I try to stop eating 1 hour before any run. Before really big trips, I do like totally carb load for like the week prior and drink a lot of fluids.
Awesome. Wow, we got a lot of questions. This is awesome. So Michelle Rice asks, what do you think about while you're out on the trail? Are you happy to be off of the grid?
Oh God, yeah. So I work in the healthcare field and I have a pretty serious job. So a lot of times I know this is weird, but I think of my patients, I don't know. And I don't know, I'm just very appreciative of the life that I have. I mean, I'm not trying to get all hippy dippy, but
oh, it's not. It's awesome. Attitude, gratitude, right?
yeah, so that, and then when I get tired, I'll just kind of space out. I have no problem spacing out, but for the most part, I just kind of reflect on what's going on in my life at the time.
That's awesome. Mindful running. That's what that sounds like, which is great. Okay, let's see. Next one. Well, Ryan Thorpe says carbs are love, carbs are life. So
totally.
That's words of wisdom right there.
Absolutely.
We've got another question from, and I'm going to, I think I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, or his name, Rohini Parthas.
Oh, Rohini. Yes, I know her.
Okay. Again, I told you before we started, I'm so bad with names.
You know what? I should have shouted out this group. Moms run this town and she runs this town in Hamilton. Really cool women. Super. I just want to shout them out. They're really great people.
Yes. I got connections to Moms Run This Town too, and they're top notch.
Yeah.
So shout out to them. So she asked, what's your favorite run venture that you've been on? And then she says hugs.
Oh, hugs. By far the most beautiful place that I've visited was Orcas Island. If you've read, I'm sure more women than men have read this, but The Secret Garden, it's I can't even put into words how incredibly beautiful, but I will say that it's probably as expensive or more expensive than Martha's Vineyard. So It's beautiful, but it's a pricey place to visit. And I actually dropped down from the 50 to the 26 miler, the mountain marathon, just because it was so beautiful. And I did some really cool stuff out there. It's a beautiful place to visit.
That sounds amazing. We're going to have you back on to talk about that, it sounds like. Okay, man, the questions are still coming. So if you're good on time, I can keep asking. We have a lot of people watching. So this is awesome. Okay, so Dana Chin, which I think you know Dana, right?
Yeah.
She says, and I'm assuming she's wanting you to make a choice. So it says, give up pictures on the run or Strava. So I think if she's asking if you had to choose between the two.
I don't know, man, because I've actually had this conversation with her, and actually shout out to Dana because she we have so many like biking adventures. I'm a terrible biker, and her and her sister have like shown me how to ride a bike. I do know how to ride a bike, but I'm excellent at falling on the bikes. Any which way, long story short, I don't do Instagram. I don't do a lot other than like Facebook. I use my Strava as kind of like Instagram. So pictures, because again, I do work in healthcare, and I do know memory fades, and I don't ever want to forget those memories, and I want to share them forever with anyone who will take the time and wants to hear me rant on about it. Only the pictures, but it would be hard to give up Strava.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, Rebecca Constant asks, what's your favorite Instagram to follow? But I think you just said you don't have Instagram, so
Yeah.
that answers that question.
Yeah.
John Beck asks,
Beck!
you know, John, he's got a great question.
Hey,
Which famous historical person, living or deceased, would you like to spend time with on the trails?
So, okay, so this is actually very closely tied into, I mean, I'll tell you the book, it's tied into this project that I'm working on. If anyone has the time to read Grandma Gatewood's Walk, she was the very first woman to walk the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah.
Her story, I listened to it on Audible, and it's a very easy read. Her story is just amazing. She did it all by herself with the help of trail angels. And there's like a specific section that like just has my heart, and that's what I'll be doing next month. But Grandma Gatewood, I can't even imagine. I mean, this woman got, I don't want to get divorced, but this woman got divorced at a time when women didn't get divorced. And I mean, her story is just phenomenal. So yeah.
That's awesome.
I'll be thinking of her on my project for sure.
There you go, John. That's Kaylynn's answer right there.
Oh,
yeah, still some more questions. Leah Becker asks, where is your favorite place to train?
My friends.
I know, these are such awesome people that are on the call. These are such awesome people.
I'm sorry, what was her question?
She asked, where is your favorite place to train?
Oh, my training is specific to what I'm kind of training for, but my absolute favorite, there's this little mountain. I mean, I think anyone who lives around real tall mountains would say it's a hill, but Baldpate, it's about 20 minutes from my house. I love it. Like, I love it so much that when people do graffiti, like I'll cover it and I get mad. And if people leave junk on the trail, I get mad. I think you can totally relate to this. Like, I have so many memories, and like there's this certain hill repeat that I do all the time. And it's like you go, even in training, you go through so much. And I just have a lot of memories tied to that mountain.
Awesome. Okay, I think we're getting down to the end of the list. Okay. Ryan Thorpe asks, any issues with altitude? I think the north rim of the canyon is about 8,000 feet.
Yeah, I found it surprising. I did not. So the highest that I've kind of like trail ran is out in California. I've done up to 9,000 feet, and I personally have not had an issue. I am kind of hippy dippy, so maybe I have and I didn't notice. No, but seriously, no, I didn't. And Grand Canyon, absolutely not. I was super tired, but no problems with elevation.
Awesome. Okay, I think we've worked our way all the way through. I thought of another question though. What shoes do you like to run in for trail running?
Oh gosh, so I'm actually switching. My laptop is on a brand spanking new pair of Ultras. So I've been a huge devotee of Salomon's and Hoka's. Salomon's are only good for like specific terrain. Hoka, I'm sorry, but the uppers are just, the quality has been going down, and I've been like a devotee for like 4 years. But then on top of that, I personally find that now with whatever kind of foam they're using or whatever type of cushion, if I'm running in a really wet environment, I feel like it almost absorbs the water. So I'm literally looking at them ultra temps. So I know there's a breaking in period. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But yeah, and I specifically got these and won't be using Salomon because I did look at the trail conditions of where I'm running, and it looks like these should suit the terrain.
Okay, awesome. I promise this will be my last question. I thought of this, when you were talking about how you do a lot of these trips by yourself and you go out solo. And so as you're alone, as a woman on the trail, can you talk a little bit about, what that means to you, why it's important, maybe advice for other women who want to get out and try you know, maybe they want to go somewhere, but they might not have people to go with. What would your advice be for, you know, other ladies who are really passionate about hiking or trail running and want to try some of these adventures on their own?
Yeah, sure. So it would be easy but disingenuous for me to say, yeah, go out and do it. The reality is that I was very fortunate. I was raised in an environment where both my parents were athletic. I was raised for about 12 years in Germany. Every weekend, it's as part of the culture. We do Volksmarches, and that's where you actually get you go through a trail, either walk or hike it, and then you get a plate at the end, and it goes on your wall. So I was kind of raised always exploring. Start easy and start with local areas. There's certainly, like, even though I travel to a lot of areas, I tend to do more populated or common trails, just because there's safety, you know, especially getting lost. I don't want to get lost. I have no problem with carrying. So if that's your comfort level, at minimum, carry a knife. If you're uncomfortable with that, carry bear spray. That can also be used for protection. Use your gut for sure. I've had times where I feel uncomfortable. The one thing that I absolutely do, whether you're a woman or a man, is I always look you directly in the eyes. I'll smile and I will say hello to you. I don't care if you say hi back or not, but just by looking at someone directly in the eyes, you can kind of gauge, like, are they sketchy or are they not? So that's kind of what I do, but start small. A lot of my trips are by myself because I want to run my own run. I don't want to slow someone down. And personally, I don't want to slow down for anyone else. And that's okay. Hike your own hike, run your own run, do it however you want to do it. But if you're going to go by yourself, let people know where you're going to be. I have a spot tracker now, so I'm going to be playing around with that because I am, you know, starting to get into I'm expanding my horizons in areas I'm willing to go to. Always take your cell phone full, but number two, always put it on airplane mode so you can save your battery.
Yeah, totally. I just picked up a Garmin InReach. I think there was a sale with Black Friday or something.
Pricey.
I know. Well, I did get a discount at REI. I had some dividends.
Yourself.
Treat yourself. Yeah. But I was running into the same issues too. I like going out on adventures on my own, but you know, even if you just go to like Catskills or Minnewaska, there's no cell service. And so a couple of my friends who are on this, you know, they would be upset because sometimes they couldn't reach me and didn't know. So I did some research, chatted with Joe Brandine, he's on the video as well. He just said, love my InReach. And he recommended the InReach, and I used it this past weekend, or 2 weekends ago, whenever it was, going up to the White Mountains, because, you know, there's not a lot of cell service up there. Well, so that, I mean, just personally gave me more peace of mind. And I know my friends and family, they had peace of mind as well, knowing that, you know, it could be used. But this kind of goes with this. We're going to wrap up with this. I'm assuming this is your dad who made this comment.
Oh God.
Is your dad Raphael?
Yeah, that's my dad.
Okay. Raphael says, can you ask her to let her dad know where she's at and when she takes off on these hikes? So I don't know if he just, like, you know, threw you under the bus for that one.
I really do tell people, and he's busting my chops right now. I mean, I don't always. Sometimes I come home, like I get in my Jeep, I come home and I kind of pass out. I'm human. But no, seriously, letting people know. And I do. I am better, puppy, I swear.
There you go, Dad. Awesome. All right, Keilynn, this was phenomenal. I prefaced it in the beginning, and I'll say it again. It was a little self-serving to invite you on because I just was so intrigued by your story and I wanted to know even more details. This was so awesome. I'm actually going to go and post this in some groups and just say, hey, if you're thinking about a Rim2Rim, Rim2Rim2Rim, check this out. Keilynn's got some amazing tips. But thank you so much. You're so gracious with your time. I know we went over, but there was great conversation in the chat.
Yeah,
so thank you
so
again.
much. Yeah, and just I miss everybody. I think I want to say I speak for pretty much everybody that kind of lives a huge part of their life in the outdoors. We all kind of miss each other. We miss racing, and I miss everybody so much. And I think about my friends all the time. I'm not lonely, but hey, look, it's a big part of your life. So virtual hugs to everybody. If Paige, you're on there, Paige hates hugs, so a super tight hug for her. And if you see me on the trail, say hi. I always say hi back. And you never know where we can connect, whether it's in Jersey or somewhere out in another part of the world. Making those connections, we help each other out.
Awesome. Thank you, Keilynn. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, to tuning in. We'll catch you back here in 2 weeks when we have on Kelsey Miller. Same time, same place on Facebook Live. All right. Keep it squatchy, everybody.
Bye.